Can you tell us your name?
Ruth Nell Miller.
And your maiden name?
Oh, that's my, okay. You want Ruth Nell Gilbreath,
Okay.
and then you want Ruth Nell Miller, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right.
All right, when is your birthday?
May the 29th, 1934.
Okay.
Is that right? Okay.
Where were you born?
I was born at my aunt's house on this street, 2 blocks down.
Just 2 blocks from here.
Yeah.
Who are your parents?
Anna Mae Gilbreath and James Edward Gilbreath.
Okay, so tell us some things you remember about your parents. As many things as you'd like to say.
About my parents.
Yes.
I can tell you that I did not have any better, no parents anywhere would have made me any happier than they did. But they were poor people, and they expected our children to be well behaved and to be good people. Okay, that was their goal.
What brought your family to Choctaw County?
Well, my dad was born here in Choctaw County.
Okay.
And my granddad, he crossed the Red River with his family, and there was, I think, about 10 children with that family when they eventually came over here. Do you want me to tell you what he did?
Sure.
Okay, my granddad contracted to clear land for people that had just acquired. See, this was all woods, and but the people would buy a certain amount of land, or they were given so much land, and they would hire my granddad to cut all of the wood off of that so they could farm.
Okay.
Okay, and he had to each time that he would move from one place to another. It might be north of Boswell, and it might be south of Boswell, or any place in between. And so he would hire these men. He had 9 men to begin with to help him saw those down and to plane them off so that they could be sold by the persons that had the land. Mm-hmm. They belonged to him, but he got paid for his job. And then they would build their house.
Okay.
That was the basic way of getting the land started. This was right after the land grant.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And so anyway, the first thing that they would do, though, was they would make a shelter, which was a small cabin, for all of the men that were working for them, because it was too far to go from like Red River to the northern part of Choctaw County. So they would first build for the men to have a place to stay, and then the women would get their 2 cents worth on how they wanted theirs to be built. But it was all except about 2 different houses that I can remember and show you pictures of, that they it was as cheaply built and as quickly built as possible. Mm-hmm. All right, and it could be any place in Choctaw County.
What part of the county do you live in? This is just for people that don't live here and don't know the area.
Well, Choctaw County.
Right, and you live in Boswell.
I live in Boswell.
West of Hugo. So
20 miles. It's actually 29.
You're right. It sure is. So there you go. How did your family, your dad, support himself when you were a child?
He was a bootlegger.
Okay. So tell us about that.
I can give you some good information on that. I'm telling you right now. I was a very alert little girl that got in everybody's way.
Okay.
All right. And so my dad was a bootlegger. My dad had two men that worked for him, and one of them was the city sheriff, the city
Right.
constable.
Yes.
Constable is what it was. And the FBI were, you never knew where they were going to be, but they were there. You know, even I knew that part of it.
Right.
Didn't understand it, but I knew it anyway. And so, but the sheriff, the city marshal would get a call from the FBI, and they would tell him that they were going to be out there on such and such a day. So we want you to find who's the bootlegger in town, and so on and so forth. Well, he came straight to my dad and told him what they had said, and he and the city sheriff constable, we'll call him a lot of different things, I think, before we're through here.
Okay.
But anyway, the city constable went right straight to my dad, who was busy working the still that day. Okay? And so he said, okay, and my uncle Elmore was the third person, and all three of those were working together. And they were working, they had their stills set up on, I don't know the name of the creek, but I do know that it was on the property of the town marshal.
Okay.
Okay? So, when the marshal tells him what's going to happen, he said, okay, here's what I want you guys to do. To begin with, we're going to dig out dirt to hold 1 pint, no, not pint, what's the next one bigger than that?
Quart.
Quart? Yes, quart. I want you to get these quart jars, and we're going to fill them with what we've got made already. And we're going to dig out a hole for each one of them in a separate place and put it in the wall of the slough, okay? And then what I want you to do, both of you, is to listen for footsteps. The first time that you hear a leaf making a sound, I want you to get down that away from the still, and they're not going to know about the whiskey, and they didn't. They never found it. Okay? So anyway, that's what they did, and my dad was there alone. See, the other guys had heard and left. And so anyway, my mother at that time had 2 visitors, and that my brother and I were there, and my mother was trying to start a gas-operated washing machine.
Okay.
And it was almost too much for her to get it to going. And so these 2 men with suits on and white tie, and white shirt and all of that, they came up and introduced themselves as the people that are going to arrest my dad. Okay? And, and we see that you're having a problem with that machine. Can we help you? Well, I would be happy if you could do it. And so they take their coats off and their ties off, and they get over there, and they work together. I was there, and so was my brother. We did not say a word, which is very unusual. And they fixed that washing machine. So when the men caught my dad and walked him through 2 different places where it was a shortcut, okay? And so when they got him there, of course, they had him in handcuffs. And my dad was himself. He knew it was going to happen, and he just joined the party, and they told my mother what she could do, as far as helping my dad was concerned. And so they got through all of that, and they took my dad. I do not know where they put him first, but I do know that he ended up before a judge in Muskogee, Oklahoma, which was the area for...
The federal court.
Yes, the federal. Okay. They turned my dad loose and told him, that he would be told when he was going to go before the judge. All right, the day came. We went up here to my aunt's house and stayed until they returned. I was worried. I was old enough to be worried about this. I was going to lose my dad. And so, anyway, my mother went with my dad to Muskogee before the judge. And they told him what was going to happen to him, but they said that he was going into Texarkana prison for, I think he was supposed to be in there 5 years, but it could have been less than that. But it was around that much. But we cannot take you to Texarkana because there's no bed for you to sleep in. So we are going to allow you to go home, and we will call and the city marshal and let him know when you are to be here. Okay, you got all of that. All right. And so my dad said, if you, what am I going to do with my family? They don't have the means to keep themselves going if I'm going to be in there for 3 years. And he said, we already have that figured out too. He said, we have made arrangements for you to be out on, I don't know what they call it, on your own recognizance or something to that nature. And we will provide you with a job until there's a bed opening for you. Okay, so we're going to send you to Houston, Texas, and we're going to send your family down there with you. Okay, it happened, and so my dad, all four of us, my brother and my dad and my mom, they put us on a certain bus. It was big like the big buses are, but if I remember correctly, the bus belonged to them. Okay. And so, because we had a little problem getting back on it when it was time to go.
Right.
But anyway, they had a job for my dad as a cleanup guy. What are they?
Right. Custodian.
Okay. At an airport, and then we kids enrolled in school. My mother got a job. They provided that for her also. Okay, so we were in better shape there than when it was bootlegging.
Yeah.
But anyway, the day came when the knock came on the door, and they told us that it was time to get our stuff ready, and they would give us transportation back to Boswell. Well, what they did, there was 2 buses there, and my dad had to get in the first bus that took him to Texarkana, and my mom and my brother and I were told to get in the second bus, and they took us back to Boswell, Oklahoma.
Well.
Okay, I did not know that until I was grown up now.
Right.
But I mean, I knew it was happening, but I didn't know why or anything. Yeah.
Right.
But anyway, that was during the big migration to California for jobs. And so my mother found a family that we knew in Boswell that they wanted to go out there too. So we had my brother and I and my mother in the back seat, and in the front we had a 10-month-old baby, its mother and dad, and a officer, not an officer. He was in the military, and he was.
Okay. Yes.
What?
A soldier.
Yes, he was a soldier from the next block down from here.
Mm-hmm.
But he had to get to the base in California by a certain date. Well, he had been in Europe.
Okay.
Okay, and this was his leave, and then he had to turn in to that officer down there. So we had 2 men, a baby, 2 children, and 2 wives.
Wow.
And there was no room for clothing or anything. So we had to pack everything, leave some behind, and tie it above above the car. None of us had ever been there. None of us. Not one person. And so my job was that when the regular driver, the man that had the car, when he would get so blurry-eyed that he couldn't drive anymore, he would put me between the 2 of them. And I had to keep that military person back on the other side, on the side where he belonged to drive, because he would be going out here in the other lane.
Yeah.
Because that's how he drove in overseas.
Huh.
So.
And you stayed out there until the war was over.
We stayed out there until the war was over. And all of us grandchildren, there was I don't know, 4 families that I know of right offhand, and the parents stayed there, and the kids all went back to Boswell or whatever little community they lived in, and so anyway, it worked out fine, and except for the people that took us from California, from Brisbane, California, back to Boswell, okay? And let me tell you something, we were happy, and they were really happy to get us kids out of that house, out of that car.
Yeah, that's a long ways with a lot of kids.
It was an interesting time that I'm old enough to be able to appreciate now, and you didn't really whine and complain and find fault with what was going on, because you were going to something brand new. And let me tell you, the other part of this was amazing to me, even at that age, because when my dad got out on 1.5 years good behavior, but he had to have a job open for him in order to let him out at that time because of the kind of thing that he had. Well, so he and my mother got in touch with, is it Constable? It's not Constables, it's...
the federal marshals?
No, it was our representative of some kind.
Yes,
I guess representative would be enough.
Yes.
Okay, and so they did. My grandmother and my dad got in touch with him, and he gave a fine essay on what a great person my dad was. Okay, and my grandmother. And so they came out on a bus together. And they stayed through, my grandmother stayed through Christmas, and my dad went to his job that was waiting on him.
Right.
And he became a welder too.
Okay.
So that's what they did when they eventually moved back here. Can't remember how long ago it was, but it hadn't been that long ago. And my dad had a welding shop. He was an expert in making whiskey, and he was also an expert welding.
Oh, good.
He was a person that had everything perfect, or you take it apart and you do it again. So
how many children were there in your family?
My mother and dad, and my brother and my 2 brothers.
And they're both older than you, or
We were, huh?
are both your brothers older than you?
No. Forget that stuff. I was the boss.
Okay, got it.
All right. And I can tell you some pretty humdingers there too. It just depends on how much you want to know.
Right.
But I can tell you that I love my brother. He was when he was born. My mother was told that he had polio because he could not walk right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, after they moved up here like 10 years ago, he had he never walked right, never. But he wore braces. Okay. And he became pretty tough too after he got up. You know, I was always beating up kids that would push him down in the mud or the sand or something, you know. But he learned to do that for himself, and so he did okay. But he followed in my dad's footsteps. Everything had to be done the best you can do it. We're not down there to play around. We are there to do a job for someone else. Okay?
Yep.
That's just the way it was.
So what did you and your brothers do in your spare time?
This is going to be another long one.
That's fine.
Make sure you got plenty of
Oh, we're
film
good.
over
We
here.
got plenty.
All right. We lived in a housing project when our mother and dad were able to get that. That was provided for us, but we had to pay the rent on it. Okay, there was no ice machine or any of that. You had all kinds of different things that remained the same when we went to that housing project. But we were so grateful to have that apartment. And we, my brother and I, boy, I'm telling you, we towed the line for a long time to make sure that our parents didn't take us someplace and drop us off and never come back. You know, that was a great experience. But not more to me than my brother, because we had a huge playground to be in. Never had one in my entire life, but it didn't matter because I didn't get to play. Because my brother would go out to the sand pit or whatever they had there for him, and there was twin brothers that would push him down in the sand, and she would say, "Don't you let them boys push him down." Well, that's the first thing they did. And then and you help him get up. You know he can't get up with braces on his legs. You've got to do that. Okay, Mother. So I did it. But what I would do, I would get my brother up, brush him off. He'd still be crying, and when I knew that he would meet Mother's satisfaction, then I would jump on them two boys and I'd beat the crap out of them. Got it?
Yep.
All right.
They had it coming.
All right. There was 1 hour's difference between the time that my dad went to work and my mother came home. Okay. And in that time, I can tell you that there were, if the parents in the United States that had those kids for that 1 hour and the things we did, I mean, we went down and swam in the river, thank you very much. Just anything. It was not safe. No, yes it is. In our mind it is. So we would take blankets, we would take dry clothes, and we would be redressed the minute that my dad came in. He never knew. My dad never knew. But anyway, the man who had the twin boys, he got the word from somebody. So in that hour between my mother leaving and my dad leaving and my mother coming home, this man came over and knocked on our door. Well, we were told, do not open that door. Do not do that. Made sense to me. We were scared. But he told us that he had twin boys that he wanted to talk to us about. Well, the only ones that I named the two boys, and yes, I need to talk to you. And so I opened the door, my brother went with me, I was safe, and I said, "What do you want?" And he said, "I will pay you to come to my quarters same kind of a building and everything, you know. But he said, I will pay you if you will come over to my house at like 10 o'clock Saturday morning and beat the crap out of my boys. I said, how much are you paying? And he said, $1 a piece. That was paradise. I'm going to do that. Okay?
Yeah.
Well, what I didn't know was that the boys didn't know it, but all of the kids that was in that school, they all knew it, because when I don't know how he planned this, but he told me when I was to be there, and when I got there, there's all of the kids in that school. So I had to, and he said, now, what I want you to do is to beat my boys up, and I will give you $1 a piece for it. And I said, okay, I think I can do it. I beat the crap out of them boys. I beat them up. They were my age.
Right.
And I can't even remember how old I was then. Maybe 8, maybe 9, but I wasn't very old. And so he made them, they cried. They cried. But now here's the tail end of the story.
Okay.
We kids all of these kids got a free entry into the show place for kids, which we could walk to if we had the right ticket. Okay, it was something, I think, to keep the kids out of trouble. Actually,
right.
I mean, we did get in a lot of trouble in that 1 hour, but anyway, so the kids had come. The other kids had come to the house and wanted to know if we were going, and I said, well, we can't because we don't have the money. And so one of the girls spoke up, and she said, well, why don't you go beat them boys up again, and you'll have your money. Well, I went walking over there, and I was very open. I said, you want me to beat your boys up again? And he said, no, they don't need another licking from you. But he said, what? He said, I said, well, I was trying to get enough money to go to the show on today. He said, you can't beat them up, but I will give you $1 bill for being this brave to come over here again. You know, oh, my goodness gracious.
Yes. All right. Where did you go to school?
Well, now, in Boswell, I went the 1st and 2nd grade. And then the powers to be changed the place that they made a new diagram on what kids could go to what school.
Right.
Okay? And so I was sent to McDonald School. McDonald School is 2 miles south, and then like maybe 2 miles back the other direction.
Okay.
Okay, and but we were the only ones from that road for us to go to. See, but the other kids came from the north, and they all came with no shoes on and their overalls on and this sort of thing, you know, outdoor toilets and what have you. Well, we had outdoor toilets here at the time, so it didn't matter. But anyway, I can't remember the name of the teacher, but she became, when I was grown, she became one of my favorite people. Good woman. Went to the same church with her, you know, and she always got me to petted up and slicked up, and so I could go to church with her type thing. She was a good woman. But anyway, Miss Jo had the older kids, and I'll remember the name of the other teacher, the lower grade that I was in. I was in the 3rd grade that year. That was the year that we moved to California.
Okay.
We only got the half of a year that at Boswell. But anyway, those boys were tough. I mean, they never wore shoes, and they wore overalls and all of this stuff, and they just looked for younger kids to beat up. Well, this is not one of those stories at all.
Right.
But we got to school one day, and the Miss Joe's class, the big boys and girls, they had their door open, and there was a wooden dolly of some kind that would open so that the whole class could be seen if you moved that door out of the way, okay? And so it was hot that day, and but we could not get in with a key on the lower kids' side. Well, the teacher got the boys. She got 3 boys to get over there and help her get that lock opened. And so that's what they were doing. The rest of us were across the street, jumping off out of trees and making mud pies and doing all kinds of things. But we were hollering and yelling. So when she got the door open finally, she asked those 3 boys to step aside. And she had a paddle on her. That was the sweetest teacher I ever believed in my life. When I was grown too. But she told us to line up, and she whipped out all of us, everyone in that side of the room. And I want to tell you something. That was real business. They didn't fool around with this stuff. And you can go to your mama if you want to, but none of us dared. But anyway. But a few days after that, there was one of those boys that was older or bigger. He was the biggest boy there. And every time that he would ask for permission to go sharpen his pencil. And every time he would do it, on his way back, he would shove her underneath her desk. Okay? And she would beg him to not do it, and that sort of thing. And so anyway, this particular day, that's what he did. And she had a paddle that her husband had made for her, this long and nice taper on it and a handle to hold on to it. I think all of you know what I'm talking about here. Yeah. And so when he came back and shoved her up underneath that desk, she had that paddle in her head, and she hit him over the head with that thing. And I mean, it was whack. And the thing that I will always remember, he said, "I'm going to go home and tell my mama what you did." She said, "Get on up that road." Well, here come the mother and the daddy, and they were, I could tell the difference in them. Then. But anyway, and she was tough. I was so happy that she was standing her own with that kid and the 2 parents, Yeah. And so she ended up winning the whole show. She really did. And we were happy about it. It really was.
Any other things you'd like to tell us about your childhood? Any other things you'd like to tell us about your childhood?
Well, I can tell you that they were part of me, for sure. They inherited a lot of things for me. But my children, I guess maybe it was because my husband was a Marine. Okay, we attended Marine functions, movies, yada this, I mean, it only cost, 10 cents to go, that kind of thing. So we took advantage of that. But also our church had given us the job of going up into different places that we had sent these kids to camp and that sort of thing, and bring them back to the home. So we got acquainted with a lot of those children that were in our care, just to get them back to safe places, But anyway, our children turned out to be different when they were kids.
Mm-hmm.
We always had our kid on Friday night. I would make a fruit salad and a potato salad.
Right.
Okay. The next morning, when we got through with breakfast, the daughter stayed with me and we cleaned up the kitchen, and the boys went outside and helped their dad do the mowing and the yard work. Okay. And then when we girls got finished, we had to go out there and help them. There was never any complaining. There was never any finding fault with our parents when all of their friends were running out and down the street. It didn't happen. So we got in early and easy, and it just became a way of us spending our Saturdays. But they learned that they could get through faster if they worked together as a group. We liked that very much. And so they actually got finished by noon. And so, but we had made the mistake. Now, if you guys can get through by noon, we'll take you to a movie that you want to go to, or we'll take you swimming, which was, San Diego was right down below where we lived.
Yeah.
And so we were always getting ourselves obligated to do something for them without realizing that they had got together and decided, yeah, let's get them. You know, but, and they would bring their friends with them. We would go to the mountains, their friends. Okay, we went up into the mountains above San Diego one time, stayed all day. We had about 6 kids in the back of the car and as many of the boys that we could get in the front. And on the way coming back, a snake came out from underneath where my husband was sitting, and it moved around and it got into the space, you know, where you can move the seat around. It got in there. Well, we had to pull over on the side of the road because the mother and the kids were screaming so hard that the car was just this.
Oh,
you know. Well, when we got to where we could stop, Tom, our oldest boy, he said, "Dad, you want me to catch that snake?" "No, we don't know what kind it is." We couldn't even see the snake, but he was crawling.
Right.
You know. So anyway, he said, "How much are you willing to pay to get that, for me to get that snake?" I think he took after me in the family. I really do. But anyway, my husband said, I will, when I pull off, I will help you take it out. And he said, "No, Dad, you won't. You can't do that. Do it that way, because we don't know what kind of snake it is." Okay, all right. Okay, I will sit still and you'll get the snake out. We had screaming girls in the back of that.
Oh, goodness.
Oh my gosh, it was a nightmare, and I was scared to death, actually. But anyway, we were about halfway home down off of that mountain to get through Chula Vista and all of those little places, you know, and get back to where we lived. And the snake came out by itself. The girls, you could tell because the girls was screaming again. But anyway, he said, "Okay, we're too close to home for us to do this, so what I want you girls to do is to be very quiet. Tom is going to secure the snake so it can't move, and I'm going to sit here and get us home." Okay, total quiet, okay? And when we got to the house 1 block away off of the main highway, then everyone felt relieved. And my husband reached down and grabbed that snake and pulled him out of there. I didn't believe it when we got home that it was a non-threat to us.
Right.
Okay. But by golly, we sure, when we would go to those mountains, we would sure get to looking before we got in there. You can be sure of that.
What is the earliest thing you can remember?
Okay. Now, I was a little kid. My brother had not been born yet. That's how far I can go back.
Okay.
And I've often wondered why. But my grandmother lived 2 streets down and 2 blocks north. They were building their own house there. They had part of it finished, and part of it was just the floor. And they were waiting on materials to do that. Well, they would actually pick me up and put me in their bed, for me to take a nap. I can't imagine doing anything that would have caused them to put me in for a nap, so I didn't take a nap. So, anyway, I would listen, and if they were far enough away, I would get up and stand in that bed, and it had a high back to it, and then I would have to get my toes on something because what I wanted to see was what was the paper behind it. Well, it was newspapers. Okay? And for the longest time, I couldn't figure out why they wanted newspapers on their wall. But that's how I spent my nap time. And when I would hear them, I'd just be down there and sweetest little thing. Oh yeah, I sure like my nap, okay? You know. It was a mystery to me.
Right.
At that age, I was not old enough to know why I had to do something or not do something. I just couldn't understand it. What was wrong with me climbing up that window, you know? But that was the very earliest thing that I can find. And the other thing that was attached to that was that my mother, the baby that she was carrying passed away, and it was a little boy. And I have never seen anything so beautiful in my life as what they had him in, and the gown that he was, and just his appearance. And I couldn't weep. I didn't know him. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But I observed everything that little casket had in there. And I thought that it was an angel. And that's what I asked him. Is he going to heaven? And the answer that I got, of course, satisfied me. So I was okay with it then. Okay. I mean, our family was, we always had somebody else's kids in our house, okay, as a rule. It was a very poor time. It was, you could tell when you saw them what you needed to do. They didn't have to ask, you know. It was just that way. But I don't want your camera to go off because I have one story that is still in my mind that I don't know how they managed to do what they did. I really don't.
Go ahead.
You want me to?
Yes,
tell you
please
now?
do.
Okay.
Please do.
My dad, the bootlegger, and his brother-in-law, Elmore. Okay. On Saturdays, they would bring their wares to town, and they would sell all of the whiskey they could to the men in town. Okay. Well, my dad was busy down by the Dixie Cafe at that time, and so Uncle Elmer came to him, and this is my dad telling my mom to begin with, okay, because we were still out in a 2-room log cabin, and we didn't go into town on Saturday night ever. So anyway, they Uncle Elmer came to my dad and said, "You need to come go with me right now." And what? And well, I have to get you away from this crowd to tell you. So he's over by the Dixie Cafe, and he takes my dad. Uncle Elmer takes my dad to there was a road that used to be right there by the Texaco station, okay, and it went all the way through to a house, a two-story house that was she rented it to people passing through.
Okay, yes, like a boarding house.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that's it there. And so when my dad, and the men are on foot now, and he said, we have to keep this a secret. So they go about halfway through that alley, but not all the way down to the boarding house. And so Polly Belvin was an Indian man that all of us kids loved.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and anyway, he was our constable our sheriff, our constable, whatever you want to call him, at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a great history. During that era of nobody had any money, there would be battle.
Boxing.
They had boxing that from people that came from Oklahoma, from not just Oklahoma City, but every town that they could get a challenge between. Okay, they always, our men always put Polly Belvin up. He was a young man, and he would beat the dickens out of everyone. None of them ever beat him. He was a little bitty tiny man that I loved as a child. I loved him. But anyway, Polly Belvin was the constable or whatever he had to be, the lawman. He was the lawman then, and he was the one that had been beat up. They thought he was dead. Okay? And so my dad told Uncle Elmer, he said, "You go get the doctor. I'm going to stay here with him in case somebody else of the boys that beat him up come by here. And you be fast about this." So he gets the doctor and brings him down there. And the doctor says, "We are going to have to take him to your house," talking to my dad. He said, "Because if this gets out, we are going to have a revolution right here in Boswell." That's how much, and a lot of it was whiskey selling, competition.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, they got a wagon and loaded him in that wagon, and my dad and Uncle Elmer took him out to our house, a 2-room log cabin. Okay. And the doctor came later with what he needed to bring with him in his truck. Oh, it was a pickup at that time. It wasn't it was a car.
Right.
Anyway, the house that we lived in. Now, my brother and I, we loved that house. We did. It was just like you would expect a log cabin to look like. And my mother, every year, she would go up on top of Red Hill and bring down the red clay, and she would daub the whole thing so it would be warm in the wintertime, okay? And let's say that this is the kitchen and that is the living bed area, except for my brother and I. We had twin beds, but they were attached to the walls.
Right.
Okay, and so that's where we had to sleep every night. Well, when my dad and Elmer brought Polly to the house, the doctor was there. When he was there by the time they were, and so the doctor says to my mother, you need to get a pan of hot water and bring it up to the loft. Well, now the loft, the part that I was calling the living room, that had a wall, okay? But that did not go all of the way. The attic was not covered. Leo and I could look up there and see what was going on in that, because that was open in there. I'd never seen anything like that before or since, but anyway, so we were told to stay in that bed. You will not get out of that bed. We can't keep you from looking, but you are to be quiet. Well, it was serious. I mean, we know not to move. So we got in my twin bed and his twin bed, and we watched them as they took the pans of hot water up there. I still don't know how they managed that. I don't. But anyway, there was always an old mattress up there, because if there was a person that my dad knew that didn't have a family, he went up in the loft. Okay? That's the reason for the mattress. But they put polyvelvin on that mattress, and the doctor got up there, and my mother was beside him. My dad was in the room with us, and he was trotting back and forth to do the doctor's will. Okay? And so we were quiet, and finally the doctor, he got him stitched up. He got him back together, I'm going to say, but he was still unconscious, okay? And so the doctor told my mother, gave her a list of things that she was to do, yada this and yada that, until he was sure that he knew that she was going to be in good hands when she did this. And so for days she did that, but every single day he came out there, and he would bring the pickup one day and his car the next day, this sort of thing. And he did that to keep people from really having suspicions about something.
Right.
But anyway, he got Polly back on his feet. As a child, I can't really be accurate about what I think the time was, but it was a long, long time. And he was completely healed when he came down out of that attic. I remember, the rub that we got. He was happy to see us. And anyway, Dr. Hale was the doctor, and so he rode on the floor going into Boswell, and then he went on to his house, and I don't really know where he went next, but I do know that those men were not from Boswell, but they came in on a Saturday night, just like they had done before.
Yeah.
And he just almost killed those men. There was 3 of them. Okay?
Yeah.
They were not from Boswell. But anyway, they never came back.
Yeah. I'm sure they didn't. Okay. Do you speak any other languages besides English?
Dirty language?
Okay. Now, you told me earlier that your family is Welsh and Scottish.
Yes.
And you showed me that your family has a family motto.
Yes.
Would you like to talk about it, or do you want me to just put it on the camera? Or
well, now
let me put it in front of the camera, and then I'll let you talk about it.
When I gave that to you, I didn't mean for you to.
Oh, that's
the
good.
Idea that they were all.
That's excellent.
Hoods,
No, this is excellent.
That is actually who we are.
Yes.
There is no such thing as having to beg somebody to come help you get out of a situation.
Yep. And so there you go. That's a very special thing for your family. Yes.
Well, we didn't know that we were supposed to be that family, you know.
Right.
But our granddad, as a little kid. Now I want to tell you something. They had midnight shows down here at the theater.
Okay.
What was the name of that theater? Well, it was the name of the owner of this house.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, they had a midnight show, and it was really pointed to children. It was decided that the children were not old enough to be seeing certain things. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the black people had the area above for them to be seated in and watch the movie. Well, I'm the one that wanted to be up there.
Right.
What's the matter with you, you people? But anyway, they would clear them out, and then the grown-ups could come in and be with the children down below, and we kids could go up there if we wanted to, or if they allowed us to. So I do remember more than one time doing that. But it was a midnight show, and sometimes it was a little hard to stay awake until it was time for you to go in for the viewing or whatever we saw.
Right.
Well, this particular time, it only cost you time to go. And so we kids were outside with parents and different people that we knew, you know. And I dropped my dime, and it went down underneath the sidewalk, you know, with the drain, whatever it is. And so I was sitting on the near it, and I was just crying and crying and crying. Well, crying was not allowed in my family, okay? And so anyway, here comes my granddad, who was he built things, okay? Anyway, he called me ear flapper. He had a name for all of the grandchildren. My name was ear flapper.
Okay.
And when he got up there to me, he said, "Well, ear flapper, what in the world are you crying about? You don't need to be crying about anything." Well, now I can't understand you. You're going to have to stop crying, yada, yada. You know the routine there.
Yep.
And so he said, "How bad do you want to go to that show?" "Oh, I want to go, really." And he said, "Have you got any money in your pocket?" "No." And so he dickered around with me that way, I don't know how long, but he said, "Well, if you're going to see it, you better get up and get your little fanny in there right now, because everybody else is gone." So I gave him my dime, and I got to go upstairs, and I got to see whatever it was that was for children.
Yeah.
And I cannot remember the name of the movie that was being. There was adults down below, but it was the one where the little girl falls off the horse and it kills her. Scarlett O'Hara, yeah.
Oh, okay,
but I don't know the name of. I can't remember.
Yeah, Gone with the Wind.
Gone with the Wind.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that was it. That was it.
So, who did you marry, and how did you meet?
Oh, I love every question that you ask. Believe me. My husband. Okay, I was 12 years old the first time I saw my husband.
Okay.
Me and my girlfriend from Boswell, but we were living in Bakersfield, California then, and our septic tank had to be replaced. So we were sitting on top of the pile of dirt that it took to dig another hole and get it in there. And so here comes a Marine, a young-looking Marine. "You're 12 years old, and you noticed? Wow, that is the most handsome man I've ever seen in my life." Boy, I'm telling you. And of course, we were just flakes of dust as far as he was concerned, you know. But anyway, we found out, and so we would ask his mother to let us know the next time he was coming in town, and every time that he's coming in town, you know. So we were not invited to the adult stuff. And she and I would have to get up. We had apartment, it was a dual house, okay? So we would get up to the door of the wall, and we would listen to all of the things that they were doing to have a good time. And we just couldn't hardly wait until we got old enough to join that, you know. And he would bring home buddies of his that we were never invited to, you know. It was just, that's the way it was. Marvin, his brother, was a year younger than me. And I could not go any place alone. But I could go if Marvin would go with me. Well, what kind of a deal is that? I'm older than him. Yeah. But anyway, that's the only way that I could go any place and enjoy myself on vacations. Well, it proved to be fruitful for me. He and I both became junior lifeguard savers, which eventually went into adult when we got old enough. We were old enough to do everything that they had to do except for the rescuing part,
Right.
you know. But anyway, Marvin and I got through with that, and that has followed me all my life since. You know, it's just, if I would transfer to another school, the first thing they'd do is put me at one end of the pool, and the other one would be down at the other.
Right. Yeah.
So it did follow me, but at that time when I was 12, you know, and I didn't even enjoy telling anybody my age, you know, that was, I'm older than that. I just don't look it, you know, type thing. But anyway, but when he would come in, all of the adults would gather around him and make sure that he didn't need lack for anything. You know, they were really, really good to him. But if I wanted to gawk at him, then I had to have a reason to go into their house and be a member of whatever was going on. Which, I mean, he was only 17 himself.
Right.
I mean, what are you talking about? But anyway, when we moved to Florence, Arizona, and I was the person that taught them how to swim down at the Little Inn, you know.
Yeah.
But when my dad had gotten a job, he was working in the mines in Ray, Arizona.
Okay.
And he rented his equipment out, motors and all of that sort of thing. But he told them, I am not going below ground. I will not do that,
Right.
and neither will my equipment. Well, 2 or 3 years later, they tell him, oh, yes, you are. And so he just packed up everything and said, ta-da, I'm not going. You know, and so anyway, he said, it was almost Christmas time, and he said, why don't we just go to visit relatives in California and have a good Christmas? And we did. We had a really good Christmas. But my mother and her best friend kept saying, why don't you go up to Olga's house, because Ernie is on leave. Well, what do I want to go with him for? You know, and everything had changed by then, you know.
Yeah.
And so my future mother-in-law, she calls me on the phone, and she said, the boys want you to come up, and they're playing some card game, I can't remember now. And your mother, I've already asked your mother, and she said it's okay for you to come up there. And so I'm going to take you up there. I'm telling you right now. Well, anyway, when we got up there, now I'm not one to create events.
Mm-hmm.
I make them happen.
Right, right.
So when the boys got tired of me beating them at all the card games, he said, "We need to do something different, you know." And Marvin, his brother, said, "Well, why don't we just go to the show?" And he said, "Why don't you stay here?" Okay. And I thought, this could be interesting. And so, anyway, we went to see a movie downtown Bakersfield. And he kept getting up and going up to the concession stand or something. "I'll be right back." Okay, well, I thought he was going up there to smoke. I didn't smoke, and of course you couldn't smoke in there anyway. Mm-hmm. But anyway, he'd come back and sit down, you know, and pretty soon he's off again, you know. And finally he came in and he said, "We've got to go." I said, "What do you mean we got to go? We haven't seen the end of this movie." "Well, I'll tell you how it ends. Come on, let's go." And so we get on a bus. Marvin had taken us down there. We get on a bus to get back to where they lived, and it was quite a distance. Anyway, Ernie said, "I'm going to see if I can talk my mother out of her car for a little while, and then I will take you down to the rest of the family, you know, my family." Mm-hmm. And so that's what happened. So Ernie had his mother's car to take me home where my mother and Dad were at, okay? And so one thing led to another, and I've never seen a movie. I've never had a person to touch me. I've never had anything in my life to happen the way it should. Mm-hmm. The way it should. It was the kindest, most gentle act that I have ever seen in my life. And I knew by his, of course, I know now that I should have blended in that he was a Marine. Mm-hmm. And he knew how to behave.
Yes.
You know? Mm-hmm. But I was ready for him to behave. And so we sat out there and chatted and chatted and chatted. And he said, "I want you to know that I have always, always been enchanted." Can you manage that word? Mm-hmm. Enchanted by anyone as much as you are just different from the other people that I have had associations with, and I want you to be my wife.
Wow.
Okay, baby, you got it. No, I couldn't even think of words. I was stunned, actually. I really was. And so I hear some voices, and it's very, very foggy that night. But I hear some voices over there, but I can't tell who they are. Well, as they come closer to the fog that we're in, I can see it's my mother and Aunt Pocahontas Walker. And they had quilts over their head, and they were upset, I could tell, you know. But when I saw them, I could just barely see them, but I could hear them more than I could say anything. I didn't bother to say anything. But they got closer and closer, and when I knew that it was my mother and Aunt Poke, I was so happy. I did not know what was happening over here that I needed to be fearful of, or how is he going to react, or something. I mean, this is not what I want to hear. Well, they came on out of the fog, and I was so relieved when I knew who it was. And so Ernie rolled down the window, and he said, "Are you here to send me home?" And my mother said, I'll give you 10 minutes. And he said, that's enough. And so they turned around, went through the fog again, and he said, I really want you to marry me. And I said, of course I will, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the happiest time in my life. We were married for 56 years.
Wow. So tell us about your children.
Our children?
Children, yes.
Well, let's see now. Tom was my first child. I should have quit then. I shouldn't have started at all. But well, bless Ernie's heart, bless his sweetheart. The children were precious, and he was the best father that there could be, anytime, anywhere. He knew how to talk to those teenage boys.
Mm-hmm.
He knew how to talk to those teenage girls that were in the pickup or truck with him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he never got high and mighty with them, but he got the gospel to them in a way that they knew how to behave when they got up to where they were dating and that sort of thing. And I was thankful for that. Because I would have thrown a hissy and probably thrown them out of the house. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I solve problems. But anyway, can I tell you, are you running out of tape?
No, we're fine.
Okay,
We're good.
all right. Now, he knew me. I knew him. We had been married, we'd been married way over a year. The first 3 months that we were married, we had to eat sea rations because we didn't have enough money for food.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but we did live in one of those complexes that had eight different room. What do you call those things anyway?
Apartments.
We lived upstairs.
Yes.
And after I had the baby, I had to have phenobarbital because my blood pressure was too high during the birth, and so they just put me out. I mean, I didn't know anything, and I never ever had anything like that, so I didn't know how to behave. But I learned quickly, and so my brother came down, and he spent 2 weeks taking care of me and the baby while Ernie. They wouldn't give him leave for him to be with me. So every day he'd go, and Tom would he would come in and step in, and we two were tight. My two brothers and I were. I mean, we got along fine. And so anyway, and then by that time Ernie got leave to come home. Well, for having this wonderful child of his, I want you to close your eyes and come in here. I have a gift for you. Well, we didn't have any money. So I said, okay. And he said, okay, you can open your eyes now. And he had a Maytag washing machine, brand new.
Oh.
And I said, who's going to operate that thing? Anyway, he went to the furniture store and talked those people into selling us that washing machine, and he was doing the washing. Okay. Well, I could hear him complaining in there, and boy, he was hot. And I finally got up out of the bed, and I said, what in the world is going on in here? And he said, I can't get my T-shirt out of the ringers that's going this way and this way.
Yeah.
And I said, well, get out of the way, and I'll show you how to do it. Well, I couldn't do it either. I could not. And I said, okay, I've had enough of this. I'm going to get them out of there right now. Well, what are you going to do? You'll see. And so I went in there with the biggest scissors I had, and I started cutting them out. And he said, that's my shirt. That's my shirt. You don't touch my shirt. And I said, too late.
Yeah.
It's free now. Well, in the process, he knocked a big tub load of baby clothes, diapers and the like, off of the counter, and they landed upside down on the floor. And he said, and I said, okay, two can play that game. And so I was close to a can of dried beans that my mother had given us. She had given us something other when we got married that was a step down in size, those little bitty things. And so I loved those things. But anyway, that's what I picked up, and I threw that across the room, and I said, oh, yes, I can. Well, and he said to me, now here comes the truth.
Yep.
He said, all right, young lady, you get out there and pick every one of those. Well, I said, if I pick them up, I'm going to throw them at you. So the fight was on.
Yep.
And every morning, he would kick those beans, those dry beans, out of the living room and the kitchen, and he would walk out, do his bit at the military base, and come home. Well, I wasn't going to walk on those dadgum dry beans all day long, so I would sweep them up in a pile, and when I would hear him coming up the stairs, I would throw those beans back out there. Oh my gosh, I'm telling you right now. And so finally, I don't know, we did this for 2 weeks.
Right.
That's stupid kids for you, But anyway, I was able to take care of me and the baby, and do the meals and what I wanted to do, what I really wanted to do, was to be a mom and be a wife. And that was as good a place as any to start, and it was great. My husband was he would have had a baby every week if it had been possible.
Yep.
He was just the grandest dad that any kid could have.
So your kids' names were?
Thomas, I can't remember. Let me give you just the first name first.
That's fine.
All right. Tom was the oldest, Thomas. Thomas Leslie was his name.
Yes.
And Robert Norman was the youngest boy. And did I have a middle one in there? Let me think about this. Well, I had a daughter. And, yes, I did have one that was born in Hugo when he was overseas. Anyway, that turned out to be a problem. They kept him in the womb too long. And we had some problems with him. But he was the sweetest child that I had. He was never getting into any kind of trouble, and I should have known what was happening then, But anyway, he had some childhood diseases that the Balboa Hospital, they had us bringing in leaves and all kinds of stuff to rule out cancer, because the doctor that my husband took him to begin with had said that he had cancer. That was over the weekend.
Right.
And but we knew Robert was not feeling good. The babysitter had told us, and she said she told me what she thought was happening. And she said, Nell, I really think that he needs to go to the doctor. And I said, okay, it's too late now, but we can take him in the morning unless we have to take him to Balboa Hospital, So she said, well, I don't think it's that urgent. But anyway, the next day, Ernie was going to take all of the kids to the movies to see a kids' movie. And I stayed at home with Robert, and he was on the bed. And and again, this feeling came over me, and I had to figure out what it meant. And I stooped down to take a roast out of the oven that I had just baked, and I went to my knees. I knew that it was Robert. But, so I went in to where he was laying on the couch and turned everything off that I could think of, and I picked him up, and when I did, his head went back and his legs went down, and I knew he couldn't talk, he couldn't move, anything. Okay, so I laid him back down, and I called the movie house. I told them what was happening, and I said, you've got to find my husband and children and send them home. And he did. And so then we got our babysitter to take care of the house and the other kids while we went to Balboa Park Hospital. And it was on the weekend, on a Saturday. And so the guy that came out said, well, he has cancer, and we can't give him very much time because he doesn't have the use of his arms or his legs. Okay? Well, I'm thankful. I'm thankful that I had the husband I did.
Yeah.
I don't think I could have gotten through it without him. And so, anyway, he said, now I'm just I don't know, fill-in or taking the place of somebody else or so on and so forth. My specialty is so-and-so. He was military too, you know. But anyway, we did not speak a word all the way home. What was there to say? You know. And so, anyway, on Monday, we were told to come back on Monday. We went back, and the head of the pediatrics was there. And he was chewing on a cigar, and he was madder than you know what. Boy, I mean to tell you, he said he should not have said one word to you. He should have said those words to me. Okay? And I want you to disregard everything that he said. I've already taken care of him. Okay? And so we're going to start from scratch. Your son does not have cancer. And I said, well, what does he have? He's got something. You know. And he said, we're going to find out. He said, I will be your doctor until we find out what is wrong. And so every day, I don't even remember how long, every day we would trade off. And I worked in the Marine Corps recruit depot, and of course he was there. And so one day he would go, the next day I would take him and go. We went back and forth on this, I know, for at least a month. Each time that we would go to that doctor, he would say, okay, we're going to try this. Okay, we're going to try that. You know, but he was still not recovering his, I guess, muscles. I don't know anything else. But anyway, Robert didn't talk. He was silent. He would maybe look around a little bit, but he looked like he didn't know where he was. It was a weird thing. Weird. We didn't know what to do. So we just followed that officer's. And so they finally he said, now we're going to ask you to do one last thing, but we will keep up with you. And so he said, I want you to collect all of the foliage at your house, the neighbors on each side, school where you have got, the other kids have gone, anything where they could have brought something that was vegetable in to us. Okay, so we had a tow sack full.
Yeah.
You know, and actually more than that because one didn't satisfy him. But anyway, that's what we did, and he did examination or something of them to discard this one or that one or something, you know. And he said, well, you don't have what I was hoping that he would have. but we lived on a canyon. It was just a deep canyon down here, and I've always believed that stuff was what caused the problem.
Okay.
Because that was something that you didn't go to.
Right.
It was just there. And but anyway, I can't even begin to tell you how long it took him to he always stayed by himself. We bought him little cars and whatever we thought that he could play with, that he would enjoy. But he did not, as long as, I can't even remember how long he was in that state of mind, which was his. It was his world.
Right.
We did not have anything to do with that world. And but we took care of him. We did everything that we were told to do. And gradually, he did become better, but his personality was not like the other kids. He was content with playing with his cars, playing in the dirt. We built him a great area to play in, this sort of thing. He never, ever caused us any problems. And occasionally we would have to take him back to Balboa, and they'd check him out. He's looking okay. He's going to get better, Well, actually, he was there, but he was always with the underdog.
Yeah.
Okay, we moved to Antlers when we left California. We moved to Antlers. We bought a cafe over there, and my son Robert was in junior high. Never had a problem with him. Well, I get a note from the principal that he's going to give him a whipping the next day, and that he wants me there to witness the whipping. Okay? I said, I'll be there. And so, but I did ask him, I said, are you planning on giving him a whipping for? Because he did not do the assignment that his teacher told him to do, and so I told him that, and she told him that anyone that did not do it, turn it in to her, that she was going to send that person to the principal, okay? Well, the principal had said to him, he said in front of me and the teacher and the man that got the kids that were playing hooky and brought them back to school.
Yeah.
What are they called?
Truant officer.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Like that. And he was in there too. And both of them was just giving that principal what for, because they said we don't have a better kid in our class. He does everything that we ask him to do, and he's pleasant about it, and he's kind to other people. Yada, yada. And that sounded like Robert to me, She said, I don't care. I told those kids that if they did not turn in composition about what they did last night, I'm going to send them to the office to get a whipping. And that's why Robert's here. And she told the vice principal that Robert, I'm going to withdraw I know you can't do that. I am going to whip him. Okay? And I said, well, actually, you may not want to whip him by the time I get through. Okay?
Yeah.
And so, and I wasn't going to ask for dollar bills in exchange either. Anyway, so I told Robert, I said, now, and the bell rang, and the truant officer and the teacher had to get back to whatever they were doing. So it was just the three of us in there. And I said, now, Robert, I've heard enough to know that you're not being treated fair. I don't know what this principal has told you in the past. I don't know what you did to cause him to say those things. But you're not getting a whipping until I tell you that you are. And I'm going to give you your choice. You can either take that whipping from the school, or I can take you out and put you in another school. But we are going to do this for your benefit because that's what I'm seeing. And I'm not a mother that, doesn't go the path. And like I said, the teacher said I would not have said that if I thought he was going to get a whipping, But anyway, and so I told him, I said, and the principal, the vice principal said, well, I've already made my statement and I need to carry it out. And I said, well, he's got a mother, he's got a dad, and you don't want to meet him, okay? So let's just go with you and we will decide. And I told Robert, I said, it's up to you. I'm going to let you decide whether you get the whipping and go back to your classroom, or you don't go and I find another school for you. And so he said, well, I've been listening, Mom. And he said, I want to get this over with, so let's just take the whipping. I want the whipping and be done with it. I said, okay, it's up to you. And so I'm telling you, that principal was so happy that he got to whip my son. I mean, I've never seen a kid beat like, because I had a class up here, and I finally had to tell the principal, I can't take this. You're going to have to get somebody else to witness your whipping these big bold boys that are 9 feet tall. But anyway, we did not know then really what the problem was, and all I can tell you is that his best friend was black in an area that does not like black people. Okay?
Yep.
But we already had gone through all of that in California.
Oh, yeah.
And so we knew that it was all right.
Yeah.
And we didn't have anything against. My dad sold whiskey to blacks just like he did the other people.
Yeah.
But anyway.
What year did you move back here?
Huh?
What year did you move to Antlers? Do you recall?
Oh gosh. It was in the summertime.
Okay.
Yeah, it was in the summertime.
Okay.
But now the licking came
during
later
school.
than that. He had I couldn't find fault with him at all. I'm not a mother that, I mean, if he had deserved a whipping, then I really would have, been.
But anything about your daughter you'd like to tell us?
Yes. Bless her little heart. Now she was the middle child, and we lived in Barstow at the time, and my mother and dad had taken the boys with them when they came to Boswell that summer to visit with. So my husband and I were there with just our daughter, and when she was a baby, she would get up on her crib and fall off on cement floors. No, we've got to do something about this. So we gave her a mattress, and we took a mattress, and we slept on the floor because we never knew where she was going to be.
Right.
She could get out of that crib, and we'd find her in the kitchen asleep.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, just terrible.
Now her name is?
What'd you ask me for?
Sorry.
Frida Gale.
Okay.
Frida Gale.
All right.
Wall is her married name now.
Okay. All right. What important historical events would you say have happened in your lifetime?
What historical events?
Yeah, of your lifetime. Yes, ma'am.
Well, you have already learned that I'm a person that believes and will stand up for justice. You're not going to scoot around this and that with me, ever.
Right.
And I have had I have had when my husband would go overseas is when the bad guys would appear.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and they were not only after me, which was a big mistake.
Mm-hmm.
My husband, I told you before how long we had been married,
Mm-hmm.
and we were faithful to one another. That
Mm-hmm.
was a given.
Yes.
You know, and our children respected that. They're all married
Mm-hmm.
to the same person. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, it wasn't always easy to demand certain conduct from our growing children.
Mm-hmm.
But they did listen to us,
Yes.
and they gradually would come into knowing, well, Mom, you were right about that.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
that's and it worked. We
Right.
didn't. Now, what was I supposed to answer?
I would that's something about historical events.
I just cannot. Now I know they're there.
Oh, yes, but again, different events affect different people different ways, and you've shown that your relationship with your children grew through those events. So yes, you've done well with that.
We loved our children, and enough to make them want to be good citizens.
Yes.
To make them want to be happy when they go to school. Of course, we only have one bad item there, but I'm happy with the results.
Yes.
You know, and I'm proud of my son accepting a black child his age
Mm-hmm.
to be his friend, and that's the way that's what I'm thankful for.
Right.
You know, and my older son. Now, I will give him credit for being the oldest because that gave him automatic license to beat up the one that was not behaving
Mm-hmm.
when our mother and dad was gone.
Yes.
Okay, so, but anyway, Tom was our one that knew what the answer was going to be before the person got the words out of their mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And so he always put himself in the position of being the caretaker
Mm-hmm.
of the ones that were not as old as he was. And he took it seriously. And we were thankful for that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, something's come to my mind about Tom.
Okay.
Okay? I can't help but laugh every time I think about this. But my husband, at the Marine Depot, they would have classes in there to help you be a better Marine.
Mm-hmm.
At work and at home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And so Ernie would go to those meetings, and he would come home and say, well, you know what? They said if we do this, that, and so on and so forth, you know, that we will have things will be a lot smoother and so on and so forth, you know. Oh, okay. Do you want to try it? Well, yeah, let's try it. Well, what it was that we were to get a piece of paper this tall and write the kids' names on it, the 4 names that was on there,
Mm-hmm.
and pin it to the wall and put a pencil on a string and pin it beside it, and then you number how many licks a kid is going to get that doesn't behave. Okay? And so, or whatever punishment, I should say, because it was
Right.
more than just licks. But anyway, so everybody had their names up there. Oh, and what would happen if they misbehaved and it was serious enough for them to lose what they had earned so far, you know, then they had to go mark it off on that sheet, and they didn't get that money.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, my son, and he's in lower grade, the oldest in what am I trying to say? The lowest grade.
Okay.
you know, what is that? Not.
Oh, in junior high? In junior
No,
high?
no, below that.
Oh, elementary.
Elementary.
Okay,
He was in elementary school, yeah. And that night, the kids played outside, and they always played, and they were okay. And I was there, you know. Anyway, he kept running into that house, and I could tell that he was really on fire and this and that and everything, you know. And he said, "Mom, what did you tell me it was going to cost if I got into a fight with someone?" And I said, "All of your money for the week." Okay. And he marked himself out. And I sat there and I thought, what do I do? I can't do anything to him. He went out there and beat the crap out of that kid.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yep.
That was not good advice.
Can you tell us something you would know about Choctaw County's history?
You mean other than the bootleggers?
Yeah, anything else? Yeah.
Well, this is terrible. I created a job for myself because we couldn't find jobs when we moved here. We had the cafe, and we decided after 3 years that was enough of that. And so now I've really had good people that I worked with.
Yeah.
And they were the jobs that I created myself because there was, I mean, where do you go to get a job here?
Right.
You know. I worked at the youth shelter. Now, tell me the question again.
Something about Choctaw County history. The youth shelter is a good thing to go with.
Something across it crosses my mind, but I can't really put it together. Go ahead.
I think we'll work back to it because I think we're going in the right way. So tell us about some interesting people you've known while living here.
Well, remember that when I was a kid growing up here, I knew the people in this county.
Yes.
I mean, in this town, all of them. And it was not until I got grown that I realized that my dad was okay bootlegging.
Right.
We did not go hungry. And I listened to tales like across the school teacher across the road here, okay? And she said that if it had not been for the farmers and the country people that brought groceries to them during the week, that they would not have had anything to eat because they had no way of making money. Okay?
Yeah.
But every Saturday, you know why? We would go to town. Well, we would go to my aunt's house. But when we went to her house, there was always a sack of potatoes and a sack of this and a sack of something else and so on and so forth that my dad would give to her, you know, and whatever she needed fixing. You know, if the plow wouldn't work right, I'll fix that for you. You know, so it was always being able and willing to take care of people that appeared to be and eventually said that they were hungrier than we were in the country. And even though I was grown, had children, and lived in this house, you know, I did not know that the people in town didn't have enough to eat. It was the country people that had enough to eat. You know?
So tell us what you're doing today.
I'm going to try to put it all together and wonder what in the world was on my mind when I said, yeah, come on up. No, I enjoy people, period. You know, and that's another thing. when you lived in the county, okay, and you were the only friends that you had was what you went to school with, and if you weren't in school, then you went outside and did what your mother told you to do. And our biggest game was laying on our back, watching the clouds go over us, and making people out of them. Okay? Now that was fun.
Right.
So it didn't take a lot to, okay, here's another little story. Now, when I get off of the subject that you've asked me about,
fine.
okay, when my mother and dad would wake me up in the morning before he left. And this particular day, he said, "Now, Sookie," and that's what he called her. She was not Indian, but that's what he liked to call my mom. And apparently she liked it too. But anyway, she said, "We only have 7 bullets left, and we have to make them count. That's all we got." And so my mother, who turned out to be as good a shot as he was, she said, "Well, I'll do my best." They would leave us in our beds and tell us, "Don't you get off that bed now while we're gone. This is important, you know." And so we would hear them, "Okay, I know where they're at. They're up on top of the hill." You know, we would follow them by the shots that they fired. And when they came home, they had 7 squirrels with 7 bullets used. Okay? So we knew that we had enough. But there was a time when this particular day, my mother was weeping tears when my dad came home. And she said, "I don't have anything to fix for supper at all." And he said, "Well, give me a little bit and I'll think about it and I'll come up with something." Well, we lived about maybe a half a mile from Lick Creek. Do you know where Lick Creek is at? It's like 3 miles out of town that way. And we lived over on the east side, okay, in that little 2-room cabin. But there was a garden space between that and the creek that went behind us. So anyway, he said, "I'll come up with something." And pretty soon he come back to the house and he said, how much fat have you got rendered up?" And she told him, and it was enough for a pot this big. I still have one of her pots here. And anyway, he said, "Okay, I want you to take that pot and go down to the creek. And I will be there pretty soon. You take the kids down there, put them on a blanket." When they put us on a blanket, we had to stay there until they told us that we could move. And I wasn't going because the water was there.
Yeah.
You know, but this was a creek, and they would put us out in there and make us walk across that and back. You know, but anyway, he came down and he had his union suit on that was summer and cut off here and cut off here. You know what a union suit is? Okay, we'll let you go by this time. But anyway, he had that on. He had his boots that tied clear up to here, but they were all untied. But he was walking in them, and he said, "Sookie, have you got that cooking oil hot yet?" "Yeah, I'm ready if you're ready." Well, he wades out in that creek with a bow and arrow that I had never seen. I was stunned. My dad has a bow and arrow, and it was a big one, okay? And my daddy walked out in there with that clothing and boots on, and he shot arrows until we had enough perch for supper.
That's remarkable.
I was stunned.
Mm-hmm.
I should not have wondered. I didn't even know that my dad could do that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But he was always the provider. That's why when people talk to me with their heads turned up and they're snorting this and, oh, well, you know, her mom and dad were bootleggers and stuff, you know. Well, my mother didn't drink at all. But anyway, they don't know what they're talking about. They're just trying to make themselves important enough for them to feel good. That's all it is.
Yep.
You know.
All right, we've got one last question here. For people who have not been to this county in their entire lives, what is something you think they should know about Choctaw County?
Now, they've never been to Boswell.
Yeah. Well, not to this county at all.
Choctaw County.
Or Boswell. They haven't been here at all. So what's something you would like to tell them about this area?
Now, this takes a lot of paper. What in the world? Now, see, Ernie and I, at one time, we worked for our newspaper, okay?
Okay.
And we enjoyed that, but we learned a lot too, all right? There's a lot of undesirable people. Now, don't put this anywhere.
Right.
There's a lot of, to me, undesirable people who have not taken their spare time to find out what they're able to do well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I know the men that I trust in this town. Do you know that yesterday I had a young man come to here and want to know about he had heard about my house being on sale, and I said, well, come in. And I made him go through every room and outside and all of this stuff, and I haven't even had a survey on it yet. Okay? And then I looked, and he was barefooted. Now, what do you do with that?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
When you come to Boswell, Oklahoma, or Choctaw, Oklahoma, being what it is, they have had some really undesirable people that live there. And I can name them all because Ernie and I worked for the newspaper and printed the events.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but we won't go into that.
Right, right.
The thing that I cherish, and Ernie too, was that when I hate to even say this because it's so corny, but when you have a problem, there's going to be somebody that's going to offer to help you.
Mm-hmm.
That's, but not all of them. Okay? There are some people in Choctaw County that are still afraid to be a neighbor to their neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know what's going to be the outcome. Well, I can tell you some bad stories that's happened to me, but you know what? It made me a smarter person. It gave me more words to spill out when I wanted. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But there were people in Durant. Let me think. I really enjoyed our. I just cannot believe that I cannot remember his name. He was so good to Ernie and I, so good, you know. And when he came to me at the end of the Christmas party that year, he said, "You come in the office. I've got some bad news I've got to share with you. You know, Nell, I can't afford you and Ernie both." So he said, "I know that you were a legal attorney when you were in San Diego, and So I have taken it on myself to go to Don Ed Payne and ask him if he wants to hire you. And he hadn't even fired me yet. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
So the biggest thing I know, it doesn't end with the people that have money.
Right.
It ends when the people are afraid that something is going to take away from them if they get involved in something. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know that Ernie was more giving than me in a way. You know, I mean, I prepared food, I gave it to people that needed it, still do. I still do. I've got a stray cat out there on the front porch that's wondering, when in the world is she going to shut up and feed me? I've only known him for a week.
Yep.
He was one of Henry Hopkins' cats. But anyway, it's Ernie took in every stray dog, every cat. He did not feed them scraps. He took care of them the best he knew how, and they were happy to stay here. They died here. They did not get kicked out. And I have seen the cats that got the kickings that don't know why, and they've asked me, why do you spend money on a dumb cat that can't do anything but run through your screen door or something? I mean, what are you talking about, you know? Well, it's our money. We'll just spend it whatever way we've earned it. You know, we've had some really rough times, I'm telling you. We had that one episode of when we first got married and moved into the housing. But like I said, you know, there was 3 weeks there that we ate sea rations, and we're glad to have them, you know. But when we came back here, not only did Ernie have to do some adjusting, because he'd never been to Oklahoma one time, and that was a Thanksgiving before.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's if I would complain, he would say, now, we did this together, and I know that you're going to be happier when I'm gone and your family is here with you. That gives me satisfaction to know that you're taken care of.
Right. And that's it for the list of questions. We appreciate your time so much.
Yeah?
We appreciate your time so very much.
Oh, gosh. No. See, you brighten my day, because I don't get to talk like this, so I just, boy, I'm stringing it on, and before I've got this one said, I've got another one waiting.
That's good.
You know, it's a blessing to me just to have you two here. It really is.